If you like Moab's worth of knowledge, drop 3 nautical miles away from your position so that you can watch the mushroom cloud of preconceived notions hang in the air, make sure that you hit that little subscribe icon. If you're already subscribed, make sure that the little bell icon is highlighted. That way you can get more knowledge. Of course, likes and comments so you can get more Moab's worth of knowledge, because we got a year before these things expire, so we're going to drop all of them. All right, so people have been asking me a lot about Aimpoint versus EOTech and which one I'd choose. So the question is not going away, so I'm just going to kill it right now. First off, I think that there are a lot more options out there nowadays, such as HOLOSUN, primary arms, Vortex, if you're looking for a more budget-minded optic. But not putting those into play for right now, we're just going to talk about Aimpoint versus EOTech. So the EOTech is a holographic weapon sight, while the Aimpoint is a red dot sight. The big difference between the two is going to be battery life. So the battery life on your typical EOTech, let's say the XPS series, which is their newest series, which has a smaller footprint, is around 600 hours. Now compare that to the 552 or the 553 or their 512 models of the EOTech. Those are running about 1,000 hours. Now a couple things about the EOTech. It's not an always on optic. It turns off. It has an auto shut off feature between 4 and 8 hours, programmable, that type of thing. So those are EOTechs, and that is a very respectable battery life. Typically they're using CR123As, AA's or something like that, or for some of the weirder models, some crazy freaking batteries. But for the Aimpoints, you're looking at a battery life of around 50,000 to 100,000 hours. So essentially 5 years to 10 years. On the Aimpoint Pro, it's 30,000 hours to 3 years, so kind of a shorter battery life. And they typically use the smaller little watch batteries. A little harder to find, but at the same time, your battery's lasting forever, so it's not that big of a deal. What I like about the Aimpoints is that you can always leave them on, so they don't have an auto shut-off feature, which you might think is a con. However, because of the battery life, it's not such a big deal. You can pretty much hook this onto your rifle, turn it on your patrol car, or if you're military, just leave it on whenever you're doing whatever you're doing, and that optic's always going to be good to go. So that is one thing I like about the Aimpoints versus the EOTechs. Now, in my time shooting with the EOTech and using it, I will say that one thing that always worried me was that battery life. So I was constantly swapping out batteries. And was it completely necessary? No. But I have had the EOTech die me at certain times. And the reticle will blink and let you know when the battery is getting low. But again, it's a hassle. It was just a hassle for me. So that's one of the reasons I primarily use Aimpoints nowadays. And I'm pretty much shied away from using the EOTech. So we have battery life, which is not good. Another problem that we have is brightness. I've had a lot of problems with my EOTechs being bright enough to use in very bright daylight conditions. Now, no doubt they've been used all over the Middle East to good effect and things like that, but I prefer how bright the Aimpoints can get in comparison. So for some that might be a con, for others not so much. The objective window on the EOTech is very large, and that is a good thing if that's something that you're really looking for. However, I found out the Aimpoints that I'm typically focusing past them, so the objective window isn't such a big deal. I mean, I'm using the Aimpoint Micro, so maybe I've just gotten used to it. Maybe if I used an EOTech forever and I switched to the Aimpoint Micro, it'd be a huge problem. Understand that I'm going to be biased a little bit because I've been using the Aimpoint Micro for so long. But there is no doubt that the EOTech has a very large objective window with a very wide open viewing space. The size. The EOTech is a little bit larger than a lot of the Aimpoints. By larger, I mean the footprint it has on the actual rail section of your rifle. So if you're don't have a lot of space on the rail for whatever reason, or if you're concerned about just the size of it, it's something to consider. You don't realize how large the EOTech is until you actually mount it to your rifle, and you're like, holy crap, that's actually overhanging my rails. So it is a larger optic. And that kind of comes down to weight as well. So depending on the model of EOTech you get, they can get pretty light. But for, let's say, the EOTech XPS 2 series or the 3 series, you're looking at around 11.2 ounces. For the 512, you're looking at about 10.9 ounces. I'm sure that there are models that are lighter. I don't have any experience with the XPS series, which are a just absolute co-witness. But if I'm not mistaken, they sit at around, I believe, 8 ounces, which is getting pretty light. However, compare that to like the Aimpoint T1 and T2, and I understand this is without mounts, but they're weighing in around 3.7. So I believe with mounts, you're looking at about somewhere out mid 4 ounces. So it's about half the weight, but like quintuple the battery life. Not even quintuple, much more than that, just a huge amount more of the battery life. So I find that for me, with weight and consideration as well, that the Aimpoint is kind of a no-brainer. Now, let's talk about the good things when it comes to the EOTech. So, reticle. I love the reticle in the EOTech. There's no doubt that I'm faster with the reticle. The reticle in EOTech is a circle with a small 1 MOA dot in the center. I believe it's a 65 MOA circle with a 1 MOA dot in the center. And depending on the model, you can also get a BDC. So it's a bolt drop compensator, so that you can zero it for different distances and makes it easier to calculate that drop, which is something you can't do with the Aimpoints. The Aimpoints are a little bit more utilitarian, a little bit more simple. So if that's something you're looking for from an optic, no doubt that the EOTech is superior. Again, I do love the EOTech reticle. Another thing I like about the EOTech is I find it easier to use with night vision goggles. So whether that be monocular or binocular, it just works better for me. So if you're shooting under NVGs a lot, you might want to test out the Aimpoint versus the EOTech to see kind of what works better for you. And a lot of guys nowadays are just aiming off the IR aiming devices anyhow. But if you're primarily using the optic, is definitely an option out there. So there are good things to the EOTechs, guys. Just realize that due to battery life, weight, and a couple other things like size of the optic and that type of thing, I pretty much completely switched over to Aimpoint. Most of my night shooting is done with those IR devices, so it's not so much an issue for me that I'm shooting through the window of the EOTech at night with NVGs on. So again, find out what works for you, what you need, and kind of go from there. For most people, it's likely going to be the Aimpoint, but no doubt if you're doing shorter missions, that type of thing, the Aimpoint is good. Just remember to turn it on, otherwise that is not going to help you out at all. So guys, more of an opinion piece today. This is just my opinion. But nonetheless, I wanted to put it out there, so maybe the questions will stop about Aimpoint versus EOTech. Now, an even better question than Aimpoint versus EOTech is going to be Aimpoint versus the Trijicon MRO, including their newer model that they just came out with. That would be an interesting conversation. Perhaps we'll do that soon. All right, guys, take care. Make sure that you drop more questions with me. Always happy to answer them. Kind of do these shorter videos, just discussing basic ideas and that type of thing. What matters most, guys, is making sure that you look cool. And the EOTech undeniably looks cooler than the Aimpoint. So there you have it.